Greetings, everyone. I am Mr. Wood, and I would like to welcome you to Orientation for Freshman Biology. I will be helping you get acquainted with my classroom management website, so let's begin with a bit about me. A few highlights from the About Me section include that I grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I still live here. Graduated from Concordia Lutheran High School in 2011. Then I attended the University of St. Francis. I graduated in 2015 with a Bachelor of Science degree in Biology. And then I returned to the University of St. Francis for the Transition to Teaching program to obtain my teaching license. Some of my favorite hobbies include camping, fishing, hunting, hiking, and, of course, I enjoy cooking. Cooking relates to science a lot because when you follow a recipe, it's a lot like following a laboratory procedure. Next, if you go up here to Classroom Announcements and then come down here to Freshman Biology where your class is, click on that. It will take you to your class page. And there's two announcements on here right now, one for curriculum and one for materials. The first semester of our class covers the study of cell biology, reproduction, genetics, evolution, and plant and animal classifications. Students should be able to use methods of qualitative and quantitative observation, describe the general structures, functions, biochemistry, and diversity of cells, describe the levels of organization, explain perpetuation of species, apply laws of classical genetics and the principles of chromosomal inheritance to problems of genetic differences in individuals, explain the general functions of DNA and RNA, compare scientific theories of the origin and evolution of living things, apply methods of taxonomy to classify organisms, identify career opportunities in the biological area. The second semester of our course covers the study of ecology, behavior, and human structure and function. Students should be able to describe the characteristics of microorganisms, describe general anatomy and physiology of plants and animals, explain the biological behavior of living things, understand the relationships in energy flow patterns and the development of the ecosystem, and finally analyze the skills required for the practice of biotechnology. Materials for our course will include a 2-inch 3-ring binder with at least 4 dividers, a composition notebook, college-ruled spiral notebook or loose leaf paper, laboratory notebook with carbonless copies, pens with blue or black ink only, pencils, and a textbook is to be announced. Next, I'd like to go over my classroom management philosophy, and that page is here under the Home tab. And first, I would like to point out that I describe my teaching style as constructivist, meaning that I believe knowledge is constructed through experiences and interaction with the outside world. In my classroom, students are instructed with a real-world context, learning to apply their natural curiosity to their learning in the world, and I mainly use inquiry-based, hands-on learning with an emphasis on collaboration and discussion. My management style could be described as authoritative, meaning that I have clearly defined rules and procedures, and I also believe it's important to hold my students to high standards. I will always explain the rationale of those standards to my students. I expect students to develop responsibility for their learning and their actions. Because I want to create an environment that works for my students and helps them meet learning goals, I allow students to provide feedback and suggestions. In fact, I encourage it. Rules and procedures in our classroom can always be modified. However, I retain final veto power. I would also recommend that you read this section on collaboration I believe collaboration is extremely important in my classroom, and I also believe that a sense of responsibility and concern for individual success is important, so there will be a personal evaluation and monitoring system, such as a chart or journal, in my classroom, where you can track your progress and you'll be held accountable for how you will address your shortcomings. Overall, I expect students to seek reproducible results, collaboration, open-mindedness, peer review, and networking. Next, I would like to discuss my rules with you, so I'll take you to the rules page. I believe my rules are fairly straightforward. No one can argue with them. Rule number 1, every member of our class deserves to be treated with respect, kindness, and fairness. That is, all members of our class have a right to a classroom that is supportive, free from harassment, conducive to learning, and based on respect for each other and equipment. Rule number 2, take personal responsibility for your actions, yourself, and your learning. That is, you are the one ultimately responsible for your learning and success. Part of my job is to encourage you to make good choices, and the more good choices you make about your learning, the more successful you will be in my classroom. Rule number 3, students will arrive to class on time and with all required materials. I've discussed the required materials with you, but you will also be provided a list of the required materials on our first day of class. You will enter the room quietly, because the halls are for socializing, not the classroom. You will turn in any assignments due for the day at the front table. Once you have turned in your assignments and prepared your materials, you will take your seat and begin the bell work. We will go over these steps in detail during the first week and practice them to mastery. Rule number 4, academic honesty and integrity are expected of every member of our class. That is, that class members avoid cheating, stealing, and plagiarism. And number 5, all school rules listed in the student handbook will be adhered to in my classroom. Next, I'd like to discuss some of my procedures with you. That tab is here. I won't go through all of the procedures, but let's go through the first 3 together, just to get a flavor for how my procedures are laid out. Procedure number 1, class begins when the bell rings. For attendance, you must be in your seat and working on the bell work assignment that will be projected on the board, and if you should finish your bell work before attendance is taken, sit quietly with your attention directed towards me. Number 2, if a paper assignment is due, you are to place it in the appropriate tray for your class period before taking your seat. Homework trays will be located near the door as you enter the classroom, and digital assignments will be due at 11:59 on their due date. Procedure number 3, late work and absences. It is your responsibility to check online for assignments you expect to miss or have missed due to absence. If you know you will be absent, it is your responsibility to contact me for any notes or additional instructions for the day or days you were absent. I will not contact you about late or missing work because you have a responsibility to contact me to discuss the matter. Late work must be completed within 24 hours of the date you return to school. After that, points will be deducted at a rate of 10% per day. Late work will not be accepted after 1 week. Missed tests and quizzes will be handled on a case-by-case basis. Let's go back up here to procedure number 1. I'd like to discuss bell work. Bell work is a small introductory assignment to get you started for the day, get you thinking about the topic that we'll be discussing, and it doesn't contribute to your grade directly for points necessarily, but it does contribute to your participation grade in my class. There are a few more topics I'd like to discuss, and for that, I'll take you back to the home page and come down to the contact information section. This is a Google form for contact information right here, and this is for any comments or concerns, questions you may have that are not urgent but you'd still like to bring to my attention. Just fill out this form. I'll get an email that you filled out the form, and then I will contact you regarding your request. This contact information section below the form is if you need to contact me concerning a matter that requires a more prompt response. For that, I've provided my school email address here, and contact hours for that email address are 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. That's when I monitor it most closely. Or you can contact me during office hours, which are 7 a.m. to 7:45 a.m. before school begins, and then after school 3:30 to 5 p.m. The last feature that I'd like to discuss with you is my classroom map here under the Home tab. I have provided a map of my classroom here. This is a clickable link to ThingLink where you can hover over these items if you click the link, but I'm not going to click it for these purposes. This just shows the layout of my classroom. My desk is over here in the corner. The door is over here. I referred to the assignment table when I was discussing procedures. That's up here at the front of the room where you'll turn in all of your assignments, and there's some office supplies there. Student tables here are arranged in what's known as the double E formation, and then lab benches are here. There's a safety station over here adjacent to the lab benches. There's equipment cabinets here, and then there's storage for personal items and for personal protection equipment that will be used in lab here at the back. This concludes the orientation for freshman biology. I hope you learned a lot and that you enjoyed the experience.